Hey, welcome everyone. We got a very special episode today. This is going to be our checking in with Gary episode. We also, as always, have Joey on the line. So the purpose of these episodes is to really get into Gary's world and talk about all the cool things he's working on and focused on. His seed businesses, Rabine Group. His path towards becoming the first commercial paving company to reach $1 billion valuation, all kinds of fun stuff. So, hey, Gary, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the intro. Hey, so here, a few things I look at in life, right? I look at, faith and family is number one. First thing that I really think about is am I doing a good job with that? And I think I got a lot of work to do there. In all these categories, always got a lot of work to do. I think that keeps me energized. But faith and family, I want my family to continue to grow as leaders and stay close to our faith as well. Make sure that their faith in God continues to be stable and strong and hopefully get stronger every day for each one of our lives. Secondly, I look at fighting for freedom and free enterprise. I want to do that the rest of my life. I believe that we're losing freedoms in our country, in the state of Illinois in a big way, and our country, America, in a big way as well. So I want to do everything I can to really engage with the organizations, the national organizations, as well as the local organizations that I help out with or get on boards and lead. So I'm going to be very engaged with a couple things locally and regionally. But the one thing that I'm going to get involved in a big way over the next year or 2 years is going to be Job Creators Network. JCN, Job Creators Network. I mean, we're constantly fighting for freedom and free enterprise. We've had some big wins over the last few years. One against the vaccine mandate, Biden's vaccine mandate that affected over 80 million working Americans would have had to take the vaccine if we didn't win that lawsuit at the U.S. Supreme Court on January 14th, a little over a year ago. We've got another lawsuit coming up, Job Creators Network, coming up this month. And this is the one against the student loan bailouts. This will save American taxpayers $500 billion and probably more like $1 trillion when it's all said and done, at least. Because I don't believe, and we don't believe that it's right or fair that some people should get their responsibilities taken away from them by the federal government, by our tax dollars. Just a lot of us didn't go to college, didn't feel we had enough money to go to college, like myself, or just didn't want to go. And you know what? How's it fair that we, the working class, working families, have to pay for the educations of the highly educated? Not right. So we're fighting that. And that's going to the Supreme Court at the end of the month. So that's a big deal. So these are all the things we're doing at Job Creators Network to fight for freedom and free enterprise and represent the small business and business across America. So that's what we do there. I'm going to get very engaged. I've got a leadership position on the board now that I was asked to take on, and I'm taking on. And so that's going to be a lot of fun to be part of that and engaged again. I was one of the founders of that organization about 12 years ago with Bernie Marcus and a handful of others. And it's exciting to be part of that. And then in business, my third thing that I want to focus on always is, business growth and entrepreneurial growth. What are we doing to grow our businesses, to serve our customers better than anybody else in the world? So my goal in all of our businesses, my leaders' goals are the same. Every CEO we have, every business leader we have, the goal is really, number one, to really build a world-class business that serves our customers better than anybody else in the world. It's as simple as that. Right. So what we do in our businesses, I expect all our leaders to look at the best of the best in the world in the industries we're in. Kind of visualize what that company looks like, that organization looks like, that's looked upon as being the best of the best in the world at what we do, whether it's paving, roofing, doors and docks, technology, whatever we're doing, right? I want to know that our leaders and our teams are really focused on how to be as good as the best in the world, and then how to kick their butts in the long run, right? How to beat the best in the world, to be world class. And we've done that in 4 different businesses so far. And we want to do that in every single business that we're part of. We have 13 companies in the Rabine Group, and we want to make sure we do that in every business we're part of. So as part of that drive, the paving business, commercial paving business and commercial pavement maintenance of concrete and asphalt. I mean, some people look at this, it's kind of a boring world, right? Chris, concrete paving, asphalt paving, come on. What can be so special about those things, right? Well, if you're going to be world class, you better look at those things as special, and you better strive to be the best at that. And to do that, you want to differentiate with some cool stuff, cool products and services and technology that separates yourself from the competition. We call that, blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy, it's all about taking that business that some look at as maybe boring, maybe basic, boring, mom and pop, and what is it going to take to build that business in a business where there's very little competition that can compete with you very well. The blue ocean strategy is all about differentiation and differentiating ourselves from everybody in the world in that industry. And man, we've done it in Rabine Paving. Our paving companies, we have 5 paving companies that do paving work across the country. One is Rabine Paving America, which is our national brand. And we have Rabine Paving Chicagoland company that was the original company we started over 40 years ago. We've got Rabine of Texas, Rabine Paving of Texas, Rabine Paving Mid-Atlantic, and then we got Rabine America Maintenance, which is RAM, which is it's a national brand for pavement maintenance. And these 5 companies are kicking butt, doing great things. Every single leader we have in those businesses, really is focused on really being the best in the world at what we do. And we're getting there. And we really are one of the best in the world at what we do when it comes to paving concrete, paving asphalt, and doing all the things it takes to do that. Within those businesses, we've figured out some differentiating services and products that we know there's nobody else in the world that does what we do in many of those businesses. And every one of those businesses actually has a differentiator, whether it's tied to one of the other companies or their own, that really separates them from the world in our industry. So my goal in the next 7 years, my moonshot, when I talk about goals, when I have a really specific goal in place, my goal becomes a moonshot. So a moonshot means I'm going to picture out, a certain amount of time. In this case, it's 7 years out, and it's taking a business to a place that no other company has been before. So much like John F. Kennedy's moonshot in the 60s, putting a man on the moon. Okay, that's pretty intense. Not many people believed in that. Okay, a lot of people aren't going to believe in my moonshot. So what I have to do is I have to visualize it every day, and I do, and then I have to talk about it every day to my leaders, to my customers, to my friends, so that vision becomes clearer and clearer every single day. So my moonshot is to be the first $1 billion brand in the commercial paving industry. So it's a big industry of tens of thousands of players that we do paving and maintaining commercial parking lots. But we're one of the biggest brands in the country today, but nobody is close to being a $1 billion brand. And to be a $1 billion brand in my industry, you basically need to be the size to be able to do over $1 billion per year in revenues, which with the profits that you expect in this industry, your value will be $1 billion value. It's just, I can go deep into the valuation, how that comes about and everything else. But basically, if I do 50 million in sales and commercial paving in any one of my businesses, that business will be worth that or a little more in value. So $1 billion in revenues will be a $1 billion brand. And that's my goal. And I want to do that within 7 years. So I can go into that a little deeper. You guys can ask me questions about that. But basically, I have to partner. My goal is to partner with between 20 and 30 paving companies across the country to buy the majority of those companies and take those leaders and owners that are in place today, and they'll be mom and pop businesses from $5 million in revenues to probably $15 million in revenues. And those people are usually owner, general managers at that point. And my goal is to mentor and help those general managers and leaders take their business from when we buy the majority of their company from a certain value to 8 to 10 times multiple of that value by the time that 5 or 6 years comes around. And so we're confident we can do that today with the tools and the innovation that we can bring to the table in every single market that we partner with a small business and they become a Rabine Group company. So that's kind of my goal. Within the next 7 years, we're going to be starting out here in the coming months. We're going to be looking for businesses in Tampa Bay, Florida, probably Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia. There's a few markets we're going to be looking at first, but we're going to have 4 or 5 markets identified ahead of time. And then we're going to be basically knocking on doors, just like we do when I did originally knock on doors to do residential driveways originally. It became a company where we knocked on doors to pave commercial parking lots. Today, we knock on doors to the biggest commercial parking lot owners in the world. And they if we're blessed like we are, they become our customers. And we do that by offering differentiating services that nobody else in the world has. And it gets us in the door, it keeps us in the door once we serve them and show them we can serve them at the highest level with a world-class brand and a world-class product. So now the goal is going to be getting in front of these small business owners and knocking on the doors of these small business owners, these paving companies, and basically helping them vision what they could be with our help. With our mentorship and our help, taking them from a $5 to $10 million company, maybe as high as $15 million company, to a $30 to $60 million company in their marketplace within a reasonable amount of time, within 5 years or so. So that's the goal. That's where we're at. And in doing that, as we do that one after another, we'll get there. We'll hit that goal. 20 to 30 companies that we're going to partner with, and it'll be a kind of a partnership acquisition where we're going to buy the majority of their company, and we want to keep the leaders in place. We want to identify people that have great core values that can live within our core values of the Rabine Group, and then really do a great job with mentoring them to be much larger. So we're going to take them from being ditch diggers. Hopefully they're not offended because I'm a ditch digger myself, right? Take them from ditch diggers, a small mom and pop type of business, to CEOs of larger, high quality, world class companies. So that's where we're going. So the ditch digger road to $1 billion brand is on its way, and we're going to be after that in the near future. And just to catch up, I'm also I should have mentioned this. I'm in Mexico still for a few more days. I'm in Monterrey, Mexico. I will continue to invest in startups that I think could change the world or impact the world in a big way. I'm invested in a startup down here called Neurocytonics. And I'm a guinea pig within this company right now. I'm getting this neurocytonics treatment for 28 days. I've got a few days left here, and basically what they're doing is regenerating brain cells, my cells in my cartilage, my knees, and also my spine. A few different areas where I've got some challenges, scar tissue on the brain from some concussions from sports and otherwise. And I've got knee injury, so I got some knee stuff going on. My knee's getting way better, man. My knee is 100% better than what it was when I got here. The brain, the memory, and all that, you don't really realize quite as fast. Although we're going to take cognitive tests at the end to see if we gained anything. I guess my girlfriend Julie is here with me. She's just a little younger than me, a year and a half younger than me or so. So she doesn't have a lot of problems, but she's basically here for a tune-up of the brain. So it's really interesting, and I could talk further about that another time. But and I can share with how this goes later on. But it's a great business, Neurocytonics, that I invested in 3 years ago when I saw what amazing results my son got from this treatment, and my assistant Debbie and others got some amazing results after going through this treatment of cell regeneration. So pretty cool. Well, let's go back to the business side of things. Again, I should do some quick catch up like that every time, but on the business side of things, I'm excited to go forward to start building the $1 billion brand that we expect within 7 years.
Awesome. That's all super exciting, Gary. I love the idea of becoming the first $1 billion brand in the commercial paving space. And if anyone can do it, it's you, my friend. I mean, as soon as you said, like, I'm just visualizing it and talking to people about it, like I could see it in my own head. It's like you incepted me with that idea. So I love that philosophy of manifestation that you're working with right now.
Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, well, think about it. There's like over 50,000 companies in America that do commercial paving maintenance and pave and repave parking lots and stuff, right? So you think about that. There's a lot of companies out there, and we it looks like we're the second biggest in the country right now. One company that's been rolling up, other companies, a private equity has been rolling up paving companies a little bigger than us. We've done ours organically, which is not common, never happened in this country before. Did ours all organically, right? Now we're going to do it with organic growth, but it's going to be with organic growth, not with just our 5 businesses, but with these businesses that we bolt on, basically, right?
That's awesome. So what's going to be the strategy for identifying, connecting with, and then deciding whether or not that they would make sense to pull under the Rabine umbrella?
Yeah. So what we'll have to do, Chris, is we're going to identify the companies that are similar in size to what we're looking for, right? That $5 to $15 million revenues range, and then we're going to meet with them, right? We're going to meet with them and understand, who they are. We really worry about and focus a lot on core values. We want companies that are aligned with values, and that's not easy always. I know when I was that size, when I was a $5 or $10 million company, my core values weren't our core values in our business weren't what they are today. We didn't have the consistency. We didn't drive core values like we do today. I think that's really important. So not that they're going to have the same core values, because that's not going to happen usually, but just very similar ethics, values, very similar high quality expectations. They may or may not be innovative, and that's okay. We can help there. They may or may not have the warranties that we have, and we can help there, right? But they're probably not going to have the equipment demands. We demand the very best, highest production, highest quality equipment. They're not going to have that, right? But that's okay. Those are things we can help them with, right? But they got to have they have to have that passion to serve their customers. They have to have the safety first mentality, or we have to teach them that, and we want them to have that the continuous improvement type mentality, right? So these are the things we're going to focus on as we look at these companies. Core values are big. Their history of performance has to be important. Is very important. We have to look at their last 3 or 4 years revenues and their the performance, right? Who are their customers, and all that kind of stuff. Are the customers recurring customers, or are they replacing them every year, right? Because if you're a business and you're just bidding, and your customers are all new every year, not a lot of value there, right? I mean, you got to have businesses where actually their customers are coming back, right? And their customers are kind of in love with their brand. That would be our goal, right? Those are the type of businesses we're looking for.
Awesome. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, obviously, there's a ton of value to be gained by working with, one of the top 2 leaders in the industry, like someone who built this from the ground up. But, what is your kind of pitch to them? What do you have to kind of enlighten them to, where they're like, oh my gosh, this makes like so much sense. Like, I can't believe you would even consider it.
Yeah. So just think about a company that's let's use a $8 million company, for example. In our business, they're probably, we call it EBITDA, kind of net profits, or the what you trade on is the value of the business is a direct correlation with what we call EBITDA. It's basically the net profits. It's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, right, and all these things. And basically, it's kind of net profit plus the things that you normally pay for, right? Insurance, not insurance, excuse me. Interest, taxes, all the things you got to pay. Add it all up, it's a thing called EBITDA. All right, and there's usually a multiple. The industry usually pays a multiple of EBITDA depending on the size of the company. So let's say these small companies I'm talking about, they might have $800,000 on an $8 million business of EBITDA, and the multiplier of that might be 3 times. Let's just say 3 times. So $2.4 million, right? So what we would show them is, if we can buy 80% of your company, let's say at that, right? So basically $2 million, right? Buy 80% of your company, and you keep that $500,000, whatever, of value, for $400,000, $500,000 of value. Our goal would be to grow that business from $8 million in revenues to $30 to $50 million in 5 years. Let's just use $40 million as an example. If we get to $40 million in 5 years, okay, well, that EBITDA goes up to at least $4 million, and we would hope we would do a little better than that, to closer to $5 million of EBITDA. The multiplier now at that higher EBITDA isn't 3 times multiple. It's probably more like 5 or 6 times multiple, okay? So now you're talking, let's use 6 because it's probably more likely, right? Now you're at 5 million at 6 times. That's a $30 million valuation now that you might own 20% of still, right? So you have $6 million now of value. Okay. You sold 80% of the business for $2 million. The business was worth $2.5 million. And now 5 years later, you got a business that's okay. So again, the business would be, let's say 5 times. So $30 million. And now you're 20% of that, right? You're 20% of that 36 million. So that's what I would sell them on that, right? The ability to grow their enterprise value. We call that EV, enterprise value, to be worth a heck of a lot more. And with the support of a company that's going to bring them relationships in their marketplace, innovation like nobody else in the world can. And it's going to take them from being a business manager, supervisor, business manager, general manager, to a CEO, which I'd say is kind of a ditch digger, to a CEO, right? What we talk about on this show, right? We want to create CEOs in every marketplace that can run a $40 to $80 million company, right? From the small business owner that they are today. And so that's our goal, right? So I think that's a pretty enticing goal. It's a moonshot vision that they each have to have with us for their own marketplace. But boy, if you could do that time and time again, what a fun ride that's going to be for us to be able to see that growth, right? And to see these business owners become CEOs and savvy business people running not one of many companies in their marketplace, but the best company in their marketplace, right? That would be our goal.
That's awesome, Gary, and I can see it clear as day. What inspired this idea? Like, you've always talked about growth and differentiation, and you've always strived to be the leader in the industry. How did you come up with this plan that, okay, we're gonna focus on rolling up smaller companies and helping them to speed up their growth?
Yeah, so I've always had a kind of a foggy vision of building a national brand, and we've done that. We built a national brand, but not one where we can self-perform in every single marketplace in the country, and not one that really is the brand known by any. I want to be known by basically anybody who owns a building somewhere, right? They would know that, hey, if we're going to get our parking lot paved or maintained, there's one name that we know that's the biggest name in the country. Right now, there's a lot of customers in the country that know our name first as the best brand, but these are customers that own millions of square feet of buildings. My goal would be for that person that owns a 10,000 or 20,000 square foot building to see our brand as the best brand in the country, that they have to get a price from us if they're going to get a price at all, right? That's kind of my goal. And I think that we'll get to that. As we get to $1 billion brand, we'll be the name in every single major market that people know as, the company to call on if they need anything done in their concrete or asphalt parking lot. And so yeah, it's been a foggy vision kind of for a long time as we've grown our businesses. But I got to tell you, it's clear as day today to me because we've got some differentiators in the industry that nobody else in the world has. We're so far beyond where we were 5 or 10 years ago with some of the technology we have that the vision is super clear today, and we can add great value to every little business that we meet with, or every little business we decide to partner with. And that's going to be a lot of fun because I know when I was let's say a $8 million company, this is something that would entice me for sure to join a bigger team, and have that type of support from a national brand with the best technology and artificial intelligence in the industry, best technology in paving concrete, paving asphalt, and the best training in the country. So this is what we need to bring to every single mom and pop that we end up partnering with, right? It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we'll be very excited to follow your journey and cheer you on all the way. This is really exciting.
Yeah, we may do that. We may do a special type of like a YouTube channel or something, Chris. We'll figure that out where we follow the whole trail, right, as we do this. And anybody with a decent sized business could say, man, I want to roll up my business. What's Rabine doing? How are they doing that? Right. And it starts again with the passion to serve your customer better than anybody else in the world. And it really doesn't happen unless you're actually able to differentiate, to deliver products and services like better than anybody else in the world, right? Once you can do that and the customer feels the difference between you and somebody else, they don't want to go anywhere else, right? As long as they have definitely certain products and services they can rely on are better than anybody else in the world and they're competitive, why go anywhere else, right?
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and there is some opportunities for some really cool things here as well to incorporate this into the podcast. Perhaps your mentoring sessions turn into podcast episodes or YouTube videos, or we have some sort of competition with like 10 paving companies, or we've been discussing these ideas for a while.
No, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited to get going on it because it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to transform our business and the industry really. To be, there'll be other companies following, and there's a couple of companies out there. Like I said, the one that's probably higher in revenues than us have bought 7 or 8 companies in the last few years. They're not really bringing a lot of differentiation, in my opinion, to the table. As they're buying companies, they're just kind of adding on revenues, adding on EBITDA, right? Not really delivering more value to the customer, in my opinion. I mean, all the companies are good; they're good people, good companies, but they're not really. They're just buying companies to buy. We're going to buy them because we're going to buy them, and then we're going to teach them to grow them to be the best of the best in their marketplaces. So a little different than just rolling up. I mean, private equities groups will come in, and I could partner with a private equities group tomorrow, and they would make us the platform company and just roll up companies, right? But there's no way they would understand the value we could deliver. I mean, they would eventually. And they don't care. They almost don't care about the value we can deliver market by market. They just want to roll up revenues and then sell that off in a short period of time. Flip our business and make more on the sale. In my opinion, I want to grow this to create amazing value in the future. And again, my plan is to sell. Once I get to $1 billion valuation, my plan is to grow to $1 billion valuation to create as much enterprise value as possible. To where we're the most valuable company in the industry, but selling, may or may not be in the cards. So, there's something else I think that I like to think about, and I've been thinking this way for some time now. Every business, whether you're going to sell it or not going to sell it, you should be measuring enterprise value on a quarterly, annual basis. So we call it EV, enterprise value. All my leaders in every company understand how important it is to grow enterprise value. That doesn't mean necessarily you got to grow the top line or the bottom line. It's enterprise value. And every industry has different ways that they come up with what the enterprise value is. Most industries that I'm in have a multiple of that EBITDA we talked about earlier, right? Many industries, if they're technology, which we have a couple technology businesses, go by a multiple of the revenues actually, okay? So think about that. I mean, profits don't mean that as much in some of these technology companies. It's a multiple of the revenues. Okay. So EBITDA, so anybody knows, it's earnings for E, it's before for B, interest is I, taxes is T, depreciation is D. Okay. D for depreciation, and A is for amortization. Okay. So EBITDA is EBITDA, okay? And EBITDA is the number to use most likely in small businesses and businesses in construction and services and manufacturing and things like that, okay? These are businesses that probably make 5 to 20, 25% net profit, and they go by kind of what the profits are and the multiplier of the profits. So every business owner should know what their business would trade for if it's sold. All right. Every business leader should know as well, because if you're not growing the enterprise value, what are you doing? Right. If you're not growing the enterprise value and grow in my business, it's growing that EBITDA. Okay. But EBITDA also relies on, there's a couple factors. It relies on the quality of your customers. I mean, the value that EBITDA multiplier goes up if your quality of your customers are great. It goes up if you're not concentrate on like one or two customers. If you have thousands of customers, right, it goes up if they're recurring revenues, right? They're coming back every year. Okay, they can't get enough of you. They're coming back every year, right? That's a great value. So again, there's many things going to, but EBITDA usually, if your industry has different values depending on the amount of EBITDA. If it's less than $1 million, it might be a couple, 2-3 times multiple. If it gets to 5 million, it might be 6 or 7 times multiple of EBITDA. If it gets to over 10 million of EBITDA, it probably gets to 8 or 10 times multiple of that EBITDA in a value. And so leaders in a business know that, hey, if I grow that EBITDA with great customers, my value goes up. If I grow that EBITDA with lousy customers, well, it might not go up that much, right? People look at buying businesses that have great customers, recurring revenues, right? And all these things. So my leaders know that enterprise value is what they focus on an annual basis, quarterly basis. And as they're growing enterprise value, they're growing value in themselves, because most of our CEOs and presidents and our partners too, they have some stock. They have stock in our businesses. So that's the goal, in my opinion, to grow business, quality businesses, understand the enterprise value on a quarterly, annual basis, and make sure your whole team understands why it's so important that you grow that enterprise value. And it's not to sell it. It's just, if you're growing enterprise value, it's because you have great customers, right? You have great recurring revenues and you have a great business you're building. So again, enterprise value is a critical thing. Too many people just look at, are we making more money? Many businesses, like I was when I was younger, just said, am I doing more revenues? Well, more revenues can actually be more of a risk, right? If you got more revenues in an industry where people aren't paying you very fast and you have risk attached to those revenues, you might be creating negative value, right? So again, enterprise value is something we'll be focused on in every business that we own and operate from here on. Whether we're ever going to sell them or not, enterprise value is the thing we want our leaders to measure, and that takes a business manager very often to a CEO caliber person when they understand their market really well, and they understand the enterprise value and how to grow it, right?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's I love your philosophy on knowing your enterprise value at least once a quarter. That's beneficial to everyone, even if they're not planning to sell their business. That's incredible insights.
And one more thing, I'll touch on that too. One more thing, Chris. It's also the business leader. Okay, if you're selling a business or somebody's looking at the value of their business and they are the one person that the business lives or dies off of, okay, then that business again has almost no value, right? So every business that's built should have a number 2 that's as strong as that number 1, so that if that person decides to leave the number 1, or they get hit by a bus, hit by bus theory, right? Hit by a bus, the business isn't worth much if all the relationships rely on that one person, if all the production and let's say operations, the execution and the excellence relies on that one person, that's not a good thing, right? So I just want to throw that one more thing in there, that you build a business of a great team that can continue to grow, because you have you're grooming and leading leaders to lead more, right? And that number 2 person, number 3 person in that chain, depending on the size of the company, should look just as strong as the number 1. Okay,
like
then you're building value.
Like a Tim Cook theory, like after Steve Jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Awesome, Gary. Well, we're all super excited to continue hearing about this journey and hear more about some amazing companies that you're rolling up into the fold and helping to grow super quick. So I do want to touch on the seed companies, the investments that you're making. You're currently involved in one directly. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Which one? I mean, the one that I'm involved in, I have probably 15 different seed investments I've made over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. And the one down here is really fun, because if we get FDA approval, or when we get FDA approval, it's going to go from a few $100 million valuation, enterprise value, to billions. And the best part about it is, the value is going to be incredible. That's all great, right? But even better is the impact it's going to make to the world. Health impact it's going to make to the world is going to be incredible. We've got a little boy down here with cerebral palsy that's going through the treatments, and his mom and dad, I talked to him today, said for sure he's getting great benefit from it. He's standing stronger. He's walking a little better. He's moving an arm that he wasn't moving before very much at all. So again, that's exciting, right? And on the side, I'll continue to invest in, do seed investments in other businesses that I think will make an impact in the world. So that's a lot of fun. This is one of a bunch of seed investments I have. I got another. If you call seed investments that become multi-billion-dollar values, they call unicorns, right? Business that you start that starts from nothing and becomes a billion-dollar business, whether it's in 5 years, 10 years, or 40 some years like mine's going to be, right? That's a unicorn because it's one in thousands, right? And not very often found. So I actually have, let's say the 15 I have 2 unicorns right now that I'm investing in, and one is solving issues in the financial world, and it's called Halo. Halo is and Bijou was on our show early on. Probably in the top first 10, 15 episodes, we had my friend Bijou on, who was the founder of Redbox. And then I actually put him together with another buddy of mine. They didn't know each other, and I knew they both wanted to do something in business, and put them together and told them that they'll be great friends and maybe they'll do something together. Well, they did something together. And Halo, when I had him on, we had him on back in the day, Chris, I think a couple years ago, 3 years ago. The valuation was a few $100 million. Now I think it's well over $1 billion valuation and growing fast. Even in a bad stock market and everything else, it's still growing because it's solving problems, even in tough economies, solving problems in the financial world. So anyway, that's a structured notes business, if you remember that. But otherwise, I've got some really cool businesses, that I've got some vets that started a business called, let's see, I'm trying to think of their business model. It's actually a power bar company. So they're breakfast bars kind of. So we'll get him on the show eventually, Alex. But he's got a business that's growing fast to compete with like the RX bars of the world and all that. So we'll talk about that another time. But so I've got a bunch of different things like that I've always got going on, and I spend very little time on those as much as I spend on my current businesses that my team's running, and then some philanthropic stuff that we're doing, the Rabine Group Foundation, and then fighting for freedom and free enterprise, which is really a philanthropic thing, and then of course you better spend plenty of time on faith and family, because if you don't have that, none of these things ever really matter, right? So Joey, what do you got for us, Joey? Any questions from you?
Nah, well, yes, I do actually. Everything was amazing. What I picked up on is most important to you is faith and family and freedom, and that you and the Job Creator Network are working on suing the Biden administration for trying to put us more in trillions in debt on trying to pay off student loans. And like you said, it isn't fair for people that didn't have the shot or the opportunity to go to college to be paying for somebody else's schooling.
Or all those people, Joey, that work their butts off, right? Putting themselves through college and still do today, that take responsibility and they're accountable for it, right? Those that paid their own way all these years. How's it fair to them, right?
Yep. And also I find it, very motivational for me that you didn't go to college and you built an empire for yourself, and how you're wanting to teach other people, so it's always good to have people like you show younger people like me motivation, and that anything's possible if you put your mind to it. Another one is your moonshot, that you want to bring your paving business into a $1 billion brand in the next 7 years. And your goal is to partnership with mom and pop businesses, 20 to 30 paving businesses across Tampa, Nashville, and Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, those are the first targets, Joey, right? Of the 20 to 30, those would be the first few, right?
Yes. Yep. And then that you really focus on giving out good products to customers and differentiating yourself from other businesses.
Not just good, Joey. If we're just good, we're everyone's striving to be good, right? We want to be world class, and if we can be world class, we deserve to grow to be the biggest in the world of what we do and the best. But if we're not focused on being world class, we don't deserve their business. We don't deserve to be, that $1 billion brand we're moving to be, right? We've got to work hard to be constantly say, how are we the best in the world of what we do? And if we're not, we better figure it out. We better figure out the differentiators that can keep us there. We know today we're there, but man, that doesn't mean you're going to stay there, does it? You got to keep working your butt off because competition watches what you do and they catch on, and God bless them, they'll catch you if you don't keep running.
And then what builds a good business is great team players. So, like you said, if you have one person who's the top person, you have to have another person that is behind them that is falling right behind the tracks of. Because if the first person gets hit by a bus, they need to be able to take on the hat and lead others. So and you said core values plays a big role in that. So that's something else I picked up as well.
Cool. You got it, buddy. Yeah, you picked up a lot of it. Well, I appreciate it, Joey. Remember these things and build your own brand, your own life values, right? Cool. Chris, you got anything else, buddy?
Yeah, I do. That's great, Gary. You dropped some knowledge on us right there, man. Got me freaking fired up. You said every business owner needs to know their enterprise value and check on it at least once a quarter. That's something I'm definitely going to start doing in my own business. Like Joey said, don't make the business revolve around one person. A great business revolves around a team, not just one visionary. Every great business's goal should be to build a world-class business that serves customers better than anyone else. When buying companies to roll up into your business, focus on their core values to ensure they'll be a good fit in your company's culture. The passion to serve your customer better than anyone else in the world will be one of your biggest differentiators. And if you don't have faith, family, and freedom, you don't have anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So awesome, Gary. This was great, man. Thanks for sharing with us.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And we can go into, we'll go into some of these fights we've got going on with JCN and another time. It's a lot of fun to be able to have an organization that can actually fight at that level, right? To be able to challenge Biden and his crazy administration that's doing stupid things to set our country back, in my opinion, right? These are my opinions, right? We won't have the ability to build things and innovate, do all the cool things we do in America if we allow, a big monster government to suck up all opportunity. And that's what happens if you allow government to be too big. And that's what's happening right now. So that's something I talk about. And then, building great family and leaders and family and faith is something that I want to focus on a lot. So, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having this, for slowing me down and saying, hey, we need to do one on what's going on in your life. I appreciate that anybody cares. But we're gonna have a lot of fun in the next 7 years for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can't wait to watch the show, man. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. You'll be recording it all, so thanks.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for being here today. And this is a different episode of Ditch Digger CEO, but thanks for having it, and thanks for listening. So until next time, see ya.